Hi, Veronika. So
Hi,
good
hi,
to see
Taylor.
you today. How are you doing?
So, could you see and hear me well?
Yeah, can you see the class? Yes, the classroom.
Okay. So, I can see you, but I guess I hear you not so good. Could you say something?
Welcome, Veronika, to Chocolate Africa Perspective Academy, and we are so happy to see you today. Before you for your presence here. We checked many of your videos, and I think the children are excited to see you and to learn from you. So I am going to be introducing every one of them to you one by one. I think we should be in my group, right? So that is it. Please, if you are in junior categories, can you stand up? Let's see you. Inside the junior categories, I think we are all excited to see you. CACG Academy. Nice, nice, nice. So you can see now. So please, if you are in senior category, can you stand up, please, everybody? So we get to see you. So these are the senior categories, every one of them. Say Senior Academy. Nice. So please sit down. It's great to see you and it's great to also learn from you today. So I think you have before Veronika Mushkina is going to be taking you through career development as a classical guitarist and opportunities we have for you as a classical guitarist. So you have before Veronika. Thank you and you are welcome. Please clap.
Hello, everyone. So, now I can see you and hear you well. Let's start. So, thank you, Taiwo, for kind introduction, and thank you all for taking the time to join our webinar. So, as a classical guitarist, we know how much dedication and passion this art form requires. But when it comes to building a career, many of us find ourselves asking what's next after music school graduation or university conservatory graduation. What option do I have beyond performing on stage? It wasn't actually my case because my parents are musicians too, and I knew this quite well, how it works, but I still had some issues with it. And today we'll explore some opportunities available to classical guitarists in areas like performing, teaching, content creation, composing, collaborating, and some more. And we'll also discuss the practical steps you can take to develop a sustainable career that aligns with your passions and skills. And after that, I would like to tell you about my personal experience. And if you have some questions, feel free then. Yeah, let's dive in. The first part, it's some traditional career paths. And the first one, and let's be honest, the favorite one is, of course, performing. There's also some ways of performing. The first one is solo performances, like recitals, festivals, in our case, guitar festivals, guitar competitions. Another way is ensemble work, like duets, chamber music, orchestral collaboration, like you guys have. And for these reasons, we have to learn touring strategies and managing performance schedules, not only practicing. Unfortunately, is not enough for performing. The second and the most popular options is teaching. There is also some ways of teaching. One of them is private lessons, like building a student base using platforms if you're teaching online, like Zoom, Skypes, wherever, or offline teaching in some students or at home, at students' home. Academic positions as university teaching, teaching at music school, what I do personally, giving master classes, which is also with competitions, festivals. And we have to learn here developing strategies or online courses for inspiring guitarists and how to teach, how to explain everything. Yeah, it's also not enough only to practice. Again, another option is recording and publishing. For example, producing albums or digital releases. CD production is becoming old school because it's also less and less possibilities to listen CD. But fortunately, we have streaming platforms like Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music, and so on. Creating video content on social media platforms like Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and also streaming, like playing online courses or streaming concerts or streaming your practice sessions. We have also streaming platforms like Twitch or TikTok. Instagram also has streams option for live session. Writing and publishing arrangements for classical guitar or original compositions for guitar. And then we have to learn how to monetize content through streaming platforms or sheet music sales and how to monetize it in general. Yes, that's the most popular fields of classical guitarist career. The second part is expanding career horizons, which opportunities we have. For example, collaborative opportunities. It's more about performing. It's like working with vocalists, instrumentalists, and other artists to play together, because in some cases it's much easier to have concerts together than solo. And it's actually one of my favorite options. Another one, cross-genre collaborations. For example, fusing classical guitar with jazz, with folk, world music. This option is not the favorite one between classical guitarists, because if you play a lot of high quality, good music, like classic, baroque, romantic, and so on, you are not always happier to play pop music or rock music because it's more primitive. But it's also one of possibilities. Yes. Another field, composing and arranging. Arranging classical pieces for guitar ensembles or other instruments, and also making arrangements for classical guitar. And then recording, streaming, posting, selling sheets music, and so on. And also about composing, it's a very important path because we have not so much original guitar music. We had a lot of good arrangements, but not so much guitar composers who wrote originally for classical guitar. And that's pretty sad because like pianists or violinists, they have so much like world famous music, and we have to play arrangements of this. Yes. Another one, arts administration and advocacy. Like managing music festivals or guitar societies. And I have a good case, an example. A friend of mine did it during her master at conservatory in Germany, in Münster. She was a student and she organized with another people, but still a guitar festival there and build connection and become experience in this case, which also a bit stressful, but also very interesting. Promoting classical guitar as an art form through outreach and advocacy, and of course through social medias today, it's very important part because classical guitar still needs to be promoted. We all can tell at least, I don't know, 3-5 names, the most famous pianist, the most famous violinist. About classical guitarists, the most famous classical guitarist knows only classical guitarists. That's sad, but it's true. And we still need to be promoted. We still need to make classical guitar more popular, more loved. And then entrepreneurial ventures like creating personal brand and leveraging social media is not a favorite option because many classical guitarists thought that it needs to be, it's like about commercial, about this plastic world, and the genuine art could be possible to be famous, like, I don't know, because of God or whatever. But today it's still important and it takes time, but it's necessary. Crowdfunding and fan-supported platforms like Patreon. I also saw many cases of it. For example, if somebody want to record a CD and needed some financial support and started a crowdfunding company, and because of it, he or she could record a CD. Yes, it's a bit difficult to ask in public somebody about support, but as I saw, it works. Establishing a business around guitar education or performance. Nowadays, there is a lot of online courses, like how to learn guitar, not only classical, in general, how to deal with performance anxiety, with technical problems, for any levels. It also takes time, but I also saw some successful cases. So could be also a career option. And now I will tell you about some practical steps to build your career. Yes, if I'm talking too quick, too fast, let me know, or it's okay. Okay, I hope it's okay. So practical, thank you. Practical steps. Okay, okay. Please?
Your speed is okay. You understand what you are saying very well. So continue with what you are doing, please. Veronika, we understand you. We can get you clearly. So we can go on. Yeah, go on.
Okay. Could you repeat, please? There's some troubles with connection, I guess.
Yes, I said we can understand you clearly. So your language is clear and open for us, okay?
Okay, okay. Thank you. So, practical steps. The first one is networking, community building. Is like joining classical guitar societies and attending festival. If possible, try to visit so much guitar festivals as you can. And also, if it's not possible, join guitar societies. Nowadays, it's quite easy to use like Facebook or in other social medias, guitar societies, homepages. Also, there is a lot of YouTube channel like Tone Bass or Seekers Guitars, Guitar Salon International. Connecting with other musicians and professionals in the industry. Also, so much as you can, because you can exchange your experience, learn something new, and also connection is always good. You never know when you need it. Competition also is a very good option for building connection. Of course, before the performance, you have to practice and it's all, but between it, it's also nice to try to connect with somebody. Leveraging platforms like LinkedIn, Instagram, and professional organizations, because internet connects the world and you can know some people and also exchange your experience and learn something new. And leveraging professional networks for collaborations, try to collaborate like your teacher does right now. Yes, another one, continuing education and skill development. Attending workshops, master classes, conferences, festival concerts, public pages. So everything that is possible, try to learn everything everywhere. And nowadays it's pretty easy because of internet. We have all information, easy to find. Yes, setting goals and planning. So defining your vision and niche as a classical guitarist. So in what part you would like to be concentrated, or maybe your strategy as a performer, as a teacher, as a content creator, as a festival organizer, whatever. Creating a business plan or career roadmap. So business plan is not a good word maybe, but it's also important to plan everything. If you're preparing for competition, let's plan it, program, dates, how much you need to prepare, how much time for concerts, what you have to learn for your program, what you already have. The best option should be written. Tracking progress and adapting to challenges. So we need to track your progress, technical, musical, like your praxis. Of course, the best option is under teacher's control, but also for yourself. It's very good just to see how much you already did, how much you need to learn, what you need to learn. Some marketing. Many musicians hate this word, but still, we need to have most of our website or social media or both of that. Well, I can give good advices, but my website is still not ready. Branding yourself as a classical guitarist. Fundraising and grants, applying for grants and scholarships, which is also very important. When I start to study in Germany, I moved from Russia to Germany. So on the flyer, there is Veronika Mushkina, Germany, but actually I'm from Russia. And of course, I didn't have so much money and I needed. And when I became a scholarship for 1 year and then another one for half a year, it rescued my financial situation. So you can look for this and applying for grants and scholarship, crowdfunding strategies for projects and recordings. I have never tried crowdfunding, but for my CD, I became scholarship, and that makes possible the whole recording process. Time management. Oh, that's a big path, but long story short, balancing practice, teaching, career growth, or studying. It's one of the most difficult part of our life, except of practicing, of course. And you have to deal with it so early as possible, because we have some common problems of wrong time management, like burnout, some depression, some issues. And we have to care about it from start your career. Yes. And now I would like to tell you about my personal experience. In my professional journey as a classical guitarist, I've tried almost everything from which I said before, participating in competitions, giving concerts, solo chamber music, playing chamber music, teaching privately, online, at music school, creating content, online course, recording a CD, live streaming, running video blog. I tried everything a bit. Maybe it's not the best strategy, and you should concentrate on the one field to become a good one. And maybe because I tried everything, I wasn't the best on somewhere, but it was my choice. And it's path full of adventurous and amazing moments. But to be fair, I guess we should also talk about some negative aspects of classical guitarist life, because you also should be prepared for it too. Unfortunately, for various reasons, our profession is pretty undervalued, and often not taken seriously. I'll give you some examples of it. Like, there have been several times in my life when my students ask me what my real job was. So I'm teaching at music school, and on the lesson, my students ask me, and what is your real job after music school? Or one young boy thought I had simply learned a couple of books of beginners' guitar pieces and started working after high school or whatever. And he really thought I just learned at home a couple of books for guitar beginners and go to teach. And that's everything I needed. Another example, there were also occasions when after concert, I play concert and people would approach me and say things like, music must be your calling and the love of your life. Otherwise, how else could you accept a job that pays so little? And I was like, what? Definitely not a thing you wanna listen after concert. And it wasn't because they were angry and wanna offend me. We were just curious about it. Or another example, I had comments under my videos, so in social medias, where I played, for example, Bach music on guitar, and pointed out, somebody wrote that my legs were short, or something like far from music, far from Bach, or something in my appearance was wrong for them. Or during live streams, people have requested, so I played like online concert, and it was some comments like, could you play Metallica or Coldplay instead of funeral music, which you're performing now? And it was like ordinary classical music, very beautiful, but yeah. And of course, these moments are deeply hurtful every time. But it's important to remember that this is also a part of musician's life, and one must be prepared for it. And just know that it also could happen. Also about competitions. If your self-esteem is not strong or healthy enough, it could be also challenging. Like I had an example. I play in a competition and I didn't pass in final round, and I just I had a feedback from jury, and I asked, how was it, this piece, and one person told me like, hey, here you played too free, too much rubato. It wasn't rhythmical good enough. You probably have to practice with metronome. And another person from jury told me about the same piece. Hey, it was too strict with rhythm, like with metronome, you have to play more free. And I was like, uh, what did I wrong? It's two different opinions, and of course, you have to have very strong self-esteem if you want to be busy with competitions. But despite of everything, I would like to end on a positive note, because despite of it, classical guitar has transformed my life. And thanks to classical guitar, I moved to another country in 2015. I moved from Russia, my home country, to Germany. I met amazing friends and incredible people. My first professor and now my second one. I traveled to different countries because of competitions. At least I found my love, my family. So my husband is also a guitarist, classical guitarist, and we met in Germany and classical guitar world, you know. I discovered new levels of patience and empathy through my students. I had never known I have so much patience, but now I know. I heard and played countless pieces of beautiful music, which is also fun. And not a single day of my life has even been boring. That's the big advantage. Because if you choose the profession of classical guitarist, you will never be bored. I can promise you. You will never stop learning and improving, because in our field, not only classical guitar is like music, there is no ultimate level of perfection. There is no the point if you tell, oh, I'm done. You will always be surrounded by talented colleagues who will inspire you not to get lazy. Because some days I think, oh, I don't want to practice, I don't want to do anything, just be like a vegetable. And then I look at my phone and see my colleagues and videos, and I think, oh, maybe 1 hour, maybe 2 hours, we'll see. Whatever path you choose, I wish you guys to approach it with passion, with enthusiasm, with bright eyes. Oval eyes, it's no go in music. Yeah. And if I have some questions, feel free to ask me. I think I told you everything a little bit about it.
Thank you, Veronika. Some of our students, they couldn't understand what you said a bit because of your intonation. However, I'm going to explain everything to them after the webinar. Aside that, we would like to ask them if any one of them have a question to ask you. So, pertaining to what we've been talking about. So, if anybody with a question, maybe we listen to something and we want us to clarify.
Good afternoon, my question is, my name is John Divine. I have a question. So my question is, was there a point in time where you said that I'm not going to do, I'm not going to become a guitarist again, and how did you overcome?
Hi, thank you for your question. I didn't heard a little part. Could you please repeat?
Is there any point in time that you just want to say, I'm no more playing classical guitar again? And how do you overcome that? Has there been any point when you wanted to relent in your career as a classical guitarist? And how do you overcome that?
How do I recognize a classical guitarist, right?
Yes. Has there been any point in time when you decided that I'm not playing classical guitar again? Let me do something else. How do you now overcome that intention? How do you overcome that situation? Do you get that now?
Okay.
No?
Okay.
Okay. Yes.
So if I understood you right, I have to apologize because yeah, my English is a bit how some negative aspects, how would I deal with some negative aspects? Yeah. Right? The question was, how could I deal with some negative aspects, right?
Yeah. In the career you are into right now.
Okay, so I had a lot of troubles on the start of my musical journey because at first, already at music school, I had a big trouble with my right hand. I had a lot of tension, it was under control. I couldn't play with free hand. My right hand was always like rotation, my pinky was always like this, and it makes my sound quality much worse as I could, and I couldn't play faster. I couldn't play in faster pace. And I was pretty frustrated about it. So when I was 14, I decided to take a break till I was 17. So during 3 years, I didn't play guitar. It wasn't my best decision ever, but I was just frustrated about it. And then I was 17, I understood that I wanna play again. I wanna do it. Doesn't matter how I wanna do it. And after my high school, I go to college, music college in Russia and try again and become the same problem. So I practice a lot. So in general, my technique become better and some musical aspects, but my right hand was still in a big trouble. So I also had some issues that I couldn't practice for a couple of weeks because it was painful, so much pain here. And after I become the first master class with my future professor in Düsseldorf, he told about some exercises and what should I do, because he told me if you will not change your habits with your right hand, one day you will not be possible to practice. anymore. And I was totally scared. And I started to learn from zero, not from zero. So I was 19 or 20, I guess. I practice with mirror just to pay attention for my right hand only. If it's always free and no tension and just know this pinky, and how it sounds, the tone quality. And then step by step, I noticed I have better sound. I could play faster and faster. So it wasn't at one day, or it was a pretty long way. And sometimes I still play and feel some tension. Maybe the little part of it will be with me my whole life. But if you will not give up and you're looking for some ways how to deal with your problem, it's possible. It's frustrating, stressful, but it's possible. And now I enjoy my sound quality and I can play faster. For some times I even thought that I will not be able. So my right hand is completely loser, but not. So with this aspect, for example, another problem by me was the time management. When I started to study in Düsseldorf, I couldn't practice full time after lectures, after classes, because I also had to work, because I have to pay my bills. I had some helps from my parents, but they couldn't afford too much. So I don't have this rich family. I have to work, and of course I had less time to practice. But in the end, I could deal with it just with time management. That if you wake up early, you can practice before classes or before you work, or you can after work, not just do nothing and doom scrolling. You can practice at first and then doom scrolling. And I try to notice how much time I just wasted for no reason, and try to practice instead. I still can say I deal with it and I am perfect good in time management. No, I still have habits with doom scrolling, but I practice every day, so we can say the problem solved. Yes. Another one is psychological aspect. For example, if you didn't have
One was playing the guitar your always key. The second question, were you under the influence of your parents to practice the guitar? The third question, who are your role models in the field of classical guitar? And the fourth question, example of books to read in career development in classical guitar.
Okay, thank you for your questions. When I understood you, see the first question, is there any skills you acquired apart from being a classical guitarist? So the classical guitar and teaching is everything I can do quite well. I thought about, when I was at school, maybe to be a journalist, and I practiced to write something, to read properly, to tell properly, to speak. And I practiced to write something interesting, or I wrote some poetry and so on. So it was for me like the reserve option, my plan B. If not a classical guitar, maybe journalist. and I try to improve these skills. But another, I guess not. Were you influenced by your parent to be a classical guitarist? Yes and no. So my dad play oboe, so he has nothing to do with classical guitar. My mom is classical guitar teacher, and she was my first guitar teacher, so the first year. But it didn't work well, and I changed the teacher from the second year at music school. And then I saw how much energy she gives to your work. And sometimes she came at home, it was very tired and didn't have too much energy for us. It was for me more negative aspect than positive. So I was influenced, yes, but I also think about maybe not a classical guitarist. Then who are your role models in classical guitar? There's a lot of, there's a big list. First, guitar, though not classical guitar, the first was flamenco guitarist when I was young, when I was a child. It was Paco de Lucia. So we have some vinyl and CD at home with his music, and I was small kid and I listened it the first time. It was very impressive. And then Segovia, and then we have vinyl with Pepe Romero. And it was for me like, he plays like a god for me. Now I very, very love guitarist Lorenzo Micheli, classical guitarists. And there's a lot of Manuel Borueco, yes, and some of young guitarists too. I also follow a lot of, and I track the guitar world. What books did you read that motivated you to be a classical guitarist? That's a good question. Because I have never read the books about how to be motivated to be classical guitarist. I had some books about musicians, but it wasn't guitarist. I read a book about Chopin, for example, about Prokofiev. And then, one book I read about Segovia. Yes. But I was already a classical guitarist when I read it. So I don't know what books. I didn't have one. What age did you start playing the classical guitar? At first, I started playing a piano at the age of 5, and at the age of 10, I started to play classical guitar. And then at the age of 14, I had a break, and at 17, start again. And since 17, I have never had breaks with classical guitar. Yep. What your biggest fear in playing the classical guitar? In general, I know some issues about problems by classical musicians, not only guitarists, like vocal dystonia or some with hands. For example, if you broke your hand and then you're not be able to practice again, or if you have some neurological troubles. So I have one of my biggest fear to have something like this, and I will not be able to practice. On the concerts, for example, it's just like blackout memory lapse or something like that. Do you know how to play any other guitar apart from classical guitar? The classical guitar is only one which I can play professional. I also have at home electro guitar and acoustic Western guitar. I can play something, but I can play something good, impressive. So I would tell that classical guitar is only one which I can play good. How do you feel when you go on stage? There's a lot of feelings. It's like a cocktail. I'm excited. I also love this adrenaline rush, but I'm also nervous every time. Doesn't matter how much time you're playing, every time I'm nervous because I want that everything will be perfect. And you will never know if it's perfect or not. Yes. How do you feel when you won a prize? If I won the first time a prize, my first feeling was like, it couldn't be real. It should be a mistake. No, it should be a mistake. And then I was very happy. And at the same times, I was like, okay, now I did it. What's next? Because my goal is reached and I don't have a goal anymore. It's a bit complicated. Who is this Segovia you speak of? So I would advise you, everybody, to Google it or maybe to type on YouTube. Andres Segovia is one of the most important figure, the most important person in classical guitar world. He did so much for classical guitar. Because of him, we have original guitar compositions. Because of him, classical guitar is recognized like sole instrument, not only chamber music instrument. Where he's like, he did so much, like never, never done. So it's one of the most important person in classical guitar world. So if you have time, tip Andres Segovia. And also how he played. It's very worth to listen. About the time management, how did you manage to get all the stress of school, work out of your head and still behind motivated to play the guitar? That's a good question. Sometimes I ask myself how it's possible. It's very important sometimes to tell no for some activities. It's very important to prioritize something. Sometimes I have to tell no to my friends to spend time together because I have to practice. Sometimes I think, oh, I want to go shopping, but I have to practice. I have to clean my flat, but at first practice. If you have some prioritization, you can deal with it, but it's also important, you shouldn't forget about eat and sleep properly. That was my mistake earlier because I thought like, I'm a Superman, I can deal with everything. I can sleep less, I can eat later and this. And then I became a problem with my health, not only physical, but also with mental. And you shouldn't repeat it. This experience shouldn't be repeated. You have to prioritize, but at first, take care of your health condition. Were you motivated by your friends as well? Yes. Yes, it was a big motivation for me. At first, at music college, with my commilitons, with my mates, they practice a lot. They all have goals and had success on competitions and so on. And I looked at them and I thought, oh, I want to do it too. And we practice a lot. We spent practice breaks together and then again practice, and it was a big support. So I wasn't alone on this way. I saw that another people also do it, and it's okay. And then in conservatory and high school, in Düsseldorf also, when I come, I saw incredible guitarists around me. They're also students, but they play like I have never played. And it was such a big motivation, such a big input. And yeah. What was your favorite songs genre you like to play on the guitar? Every year I make like musical advent calendar, so 24 days with Christmas songs. And it makes for me and for my followers and other people like Christmas mood, so peaceful and happy. And so my favorite genre, which I like to play on guitar, except guitar music as Christmas songs, because in December you have already no energy, but if you create this mood, it helps a lot. What do you mean by marketing? This is a thing you can't avoid today. We all want to be busy with art only, with music only. But nowadays we can't avoid. You will not become concerts if you not start to write somebody or promote yourself, or if you don't have a website. Maybe you will write email, but nobody will invite you. So I try to write like emails. So I'm classical guitarist, I want to play by you guys and so on. But without promotion, it wasn't possible for me. So marketing, you can't avoid it, and you need to spend time for marketing. Are there times that you don't get inspired to write songs? I don't write songs. I play only music written by another people. When I was a teenager, I tried something, but it wasn't successful, it wasn't good, and I have never tried after that. And I don't know, I don't really want to. I'm happy with playing music which already written. Maybe arrangements, yes, but not composing. Okay. Because my first teacher didn't know how to help me. She saw it was a problem in Russia, but she couldn't help me. When you started learning how to play guitar, has somebody ever tried discouraging you? Yes. It was like then I had the first master class with my professor. It was my future professor. And then I was still students in music college, and I come to my teacher and say, okay, I have to change everything. And I have some time for it. So not play my regular program, but practice these exercises. And My teacher wasn't happy to hear about it because she has another plan for me. But I was seriously with it, and I told it I need this. And of course, like everybody practice a difficult program, and I make this exercise. It was sad, frustrating. Thank you. Thank you guys for joining me today. And I wish you a lot of fun and joy with classical guitar. And for your teacher too.
So, Veronika, thank you.
Please,
so
a round of
much.
applause for her.
Yeah,
Okay.
we are going to explain everything you said. We are going to let you understand. And apart from this, I think we look forward to seeing you again during our master classes and during some master classes online. And we'll be happy to see you in Nigeria. If you have the time, we can invite you to come over for some concert. So we'll be happy to see you. Okay? Thank you so much for your time. Everybody, once again,
Good night. Bye.
You can only get better.
thank you. So we have to
Thank you
end the
so much.
meeting now and talk to you soon. Take care. Bye.
Bye.